Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net's Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Transmission commencing.
This is Wookiee Radio. Translated for the Wookiee impaired. I like that Wookiee. Your hosts, Ken, Derek, and Mike, bring you the latest news and commentary from the far reaches of the galaxy.
Hold it. Hold it. I said hold it.
Subscribe today on iTunes and Stitcher.
I just assumed it's a Wookiee.
Start listening today, and remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org, or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of The Crazy Life. I'm Brian, and joining me is Henno.
Hello everybody!
And no Jen this week, because I don't know why. She didn't respond to us recording today, so I don't really know what the reason is. I know yesterday was a headache.
Well yesterday, so yeah.
Hopefully she's feeling better, because, multiple day headaches stink, as I've
it's terrible.
whined about plenty of times on here. So, yeah. So you're just stuck with us again this week, sir?
Yeah.
So I guess how was your week, Henno? Or do you want me to start, or whatever? I don't care.
Oh, that's right. I have to share my Serenity moment.
That's right, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, at least I'm not raging over a video game anymore.
Right.
So there's that.
Right.
And I did fix it.
That's good.
But I don't recommend kicking your steering column in your car from the side violently.
Right.
So you know about the security lock on cars, that if the key is not in the ignition and you move the steering wheel locks into place?
Yeah.
Right. And most of us experience that. You know, you get in the car, steering wheel's not moving, you put the key in and you just turn it a little bit. Oh, it just loosens up, right?
Right.
Well, this one wasn't loosening. And I'm like, okay, am I doing something wrong? So I'm like looking it up and all the same thing. Just turn and I got all the gear in, got to go to rehearsal. I'm leaving early, so it's not crucial, but I was going there early to put up the new sound treatments there, and I kind of wanted to get going. And I keep trying to do it, and I check other videos, I check other, and everyone says, unless there's some other problem, this should work. And I'm like, it's not working. And, you know, the last thing you want to do is force a key, because you just bend keys or break keys, and now you're really screwed.
Yeah.
And I could not it would not work. And I was just getting so frustrated because I was like, this has to work. I just drove the car. I just parked it. You know, it's like the key works. There's nothing wrong. You know. And so I just got out of the car and I stepped back and I gave the whole column a big giant kick, and plastic parts went flying everywhere, all over the car. I'm like, well, that wasn't good. In the meantime, I go in there and I grab the steering wheel, I give it a really hard yank, and the thing just broke loose.
Wow.
Key, turned, everything worked fine.
Wow.
And, you know, I've got kind of some windshield wipers and no turn signals and, you know. You know, you got the wheel and you get that big plastic bundle afterwards where the little things stick out the sides. Yeah. Oh, that's a million pieces. Millions of pieces, yeah. I was not very proud of myself. Other than the fact that I did get the van to work and I got to, you know. Yeah. And then I went on to eBay and so here's the great part. I can spend $35 on just it's got a combination turn signal and windshield wipers. That switch is $35. Plus, you know, whatever for shipping.
Yeah.
Or I can get the entire steering column, like the whole thing, like the whole part that goes from the steering wheel all the way into the engine compartment for $150 with shipping. So I'm like, well, there's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that prevents the sticking issue.
Literally the entire steering column. Because that way, if there actually is a problem with the part.
Yeah.
Because they send you not only the steering column, but the key with the ignition unit and everything. So if there's if I have a legitimate key issue, I now have an extra cylinder and an extra key. But yeah.
Yeah, probably not the brightest moment.
No, I've just been I've been getting frustrated too easy about things.
Yeah.
Lately. And just, I don't know where it's coming from, but.
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing. Was it last week or week before where I said I noticed that like my different times kind of, I feel like I'm raging a little more than I want to, a little easier than I should be.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe something's going on.
I don't feel like I have a reason.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know what it is? It's like like to talk about, my Serenity savings account has just gotten completely, you know, depleted, and there's nothing left. And, you know, when the checking account overdraws, there's nothing there.
Like the situation's coming up and you're like, I should have $5 or $10 in there. I'll be all right. And then, you know, oh, nope.
Yeah. Nope. And negative $35 fee.
And kicking a steering column. Yeah.
Rage. But other than that, I actually got sick last week. The day after we podcasted, I woke up and I had a sore throat that I wasn't sure if it was really bad. And I went to work and I just felt I was just out of it. I couldn't focus. And the next day I woke up. I didn't wake up. I actually came to, And I looked around, and I'd already woken up once. I'd just gone back to sleep, and I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, it's way too light. Because I usually get up between 6 and 6:30, and I'm like, it's dark at that time. I look over at I just grabbed my phone. It was 8:15. I'm like, oh wow.
Whoops.
So yeah, like big whoopsie. And that's when I sat there and I was like, all right, I don't do this. I don't oversleep like that.
Right.
And the reason the alarm didn't go off is because I left my Bluetooth headset on. So my alarm was going off in the kitchen where it was plugged in. That didn't help. However, I got up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to work. And as soon as I stood up, I'm like, no, I'm not feeling well. I was like, this is why I was spacey yesterday and a little sore throat. So I was like, unfortunately, I only had 1 day of PTO left over, but I'm like, take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, it just gets worse.
Yep. And
so I took that day off and went back to work on Thursday, and then had a nice weekend and got my Christmas lights up. And one of the best things was this is my win for the week. I had all my Christmas lights out in the kitchen. I'm testing them all, and I'm finding which ones aren't working, which ones are. And some of them I've being comfortable with electrical stuff, I will modify things. And so I had this one strand that it was all green though, and I didn't want green. I wanted multicolor. So I'm going through pulling the LEDs off of the multicolor LEDs out of one and putting them into order on the green one.
Right.
And I'm almost done. There's 3 left, and I plug something in, and all of a sudden it just goes and smoke comes up. And I was like, and everything just shuts off. And I'm like,
that's a good sign.
I just spent all this time plugging this in. And so I go downstairs and I grab an old set, and I'm like, cutting, and I'm, stripping the wires and doing wire nuts and blah, blah, blah. And I finally go, I can afford new lights. And I literally took everything. I bundled them all up, all of them. I walked them outside. I lifted the garbage can and I threw them away.
Yeah.
Because there was a part of me that was almost going to save all the lights.
Yeah.
Because you never know. If a light goes out, I'll have extra lights. No, I'll go buy a new light. I don't need any more stuff.
You never know is one of the greatest enablers ever.
Exactly. And it's my, that's big problem.
Me too.
So that felt really good to just go, I can go down to the hardware store and spend the $7 on a new strand if I need to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, fortunately they're not, ungodly expensive type things. And you're right that at that point it's like, I don't want to spend the time on this. Like, because, it's like, look, I have other things.
Because I can fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I can doesn't mean I need to.
Right. Yeah.
Or should, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, those kind of things are fickle anyway, like.
Oh, they so are. Oh,
the least little thing sometimes sets them off.
Yeah, my red, I had like multiple reds that I put on one of the trees in the side yard, and I plugged it in the kitchen. Fine, everything's working great. Awesome. Go out there, string the whole thing up, turn it on. The last 1.5 feet at the top wasn't working. And I'm like, okay, it's already dark. I'll deal with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and it's working. And it's been working every day since then. All right, cool.
Well, there you go, right? It just needed a little longer to warm up. That's all.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was nice. It was nice to get that stuff out. And then what was really cool is I came home on, I think it was yesterday, and Sharon's been gone dog sitting for a week, and she was back yesterday, and I put up, where my air conditioning was, I put that into my little shed, and I set up a little table. And I got this little like a purple tree. This little purple tree with lights already built on it.
Yeah.
Just, like 2 feet tall or whatever.
Sure.
I'm like, this is perfect. So I laid that up, set that all up, and she had already, decorated it and put some stuff out, and found our stockings,
Yeah.
So down, got Elf on the TV because
nice.
I dig that movie.
Yeah, I do too. Good choice.
Just it was kind of getting in the vibe and getting some presents wrapped and shipping things out and, not waiting until the last minute. Although I'm having this thing where I'm forgetting stuff. Like I got home today and I went to our little art store to pick up some things to frame, and I got home and I was like, yeah, I just want to relax for a while. I had some food, and then I get here to sit down, and then now I see all my sticky notes of the things that I could have been doing for the last. It's like, no.
But you got other things accomplished.
Yeah, well, yeah. I feel like I want to be on top of stuff right now.
Yeah.
Because you know how it can be at Christmas time. You put stuff off, and now it builds up, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, it's like I know I've heard some people talking about how they have to ship some stuff out for to family or something like that for Christmas, and I'm like, yeah, don't wait on that. Like, do that because.
Just do it.
I know this sounds like I'm about to go into a Stamps.com ad or something, but the post office does get crazy the closer you get to Christmas, and we're not too far away from that point where they start going, it may get there by Christmas, like on some of the stuff. So, if you're a person listening, plus just doing it ahead of time, then you don't have all that stress at the end, and
That's it. That's it. That's why I want to be at that point. I like. If I can make that as a goal for myself. And the other thing that I did is I also, it's not regifting so much, but it was something that I already own and that I just don't use, and it's still like in new condition. And then I find out that somebody that they would like it. I'm like, hey, I'm packing this up.
Yeah.
And it could be something that was really expensive or not so expensive. But it's all little baby steps towards clearing out stuff and clutter, and that kind of thing. So it's been
nothing wrong with that. And like you said, this time of year, a lot of people feel overwhelmed by a variety of things. So if you can eliminate some clutter and get stuff done ahead of time, so you're not putting that stress on yourself of it being last minute and. Oh,
That's
wait,
it.
now, I had to stand in line for an hour at the post office, so now I'm late to this or doing something else. It's like, it's just, this way it's like, nope, done. Okay, I can handle something else now, so, yeah.
And I'm also stoked on, my rehearsal got changed from Thursday night until tomorrow night on Wednesday night, which is going to be, I'm going to have a really busy night. But that means I can finally go to my men's group on Thursday night where I haven't been for months.
I was wondering about it. 'Cause I was actually going to ask you that because, I think once before, remember when you were talking about how you felt off? And remember, I was like, have you been to your men's group recently? Like maybe like with me, I got back into therapy because I was like, you know what? It's been a while since I've done this. I think it's time to take the old car in for a tune up, just make sure we're staying on the right way. And, so yeah, that should be nice.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Need to get back to home base and recharge a little or something. But I have not been there since my dad died, and Eric too, and Eric was a part of this group.
Oh,
he was a really prominent part of this group, and I haven't been there since that. Just it was either rehearsals or I was going out of town or Thanksgiving or whatever it was. So
yeah, right.
But I'm excited, and somebody stepped up to be treasurer, so I can pass that on.
Oh, cool.
Which that was something I did. Oh, this is hilarious. So Saturday, I wanted to get everything organized for Scott. I wanted to have all the because we have, I've got we have a checking account. And so I've got, you've got your check register, you've got your online, where your balance is, and we do a financial report. And so all three of those things can get a little bit off.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just, it's just math errors and whatever. But as long as I'm within $5, I never stress it.
Yeah.
You can always rebalance it. As long as it's not major, I don't do anything, big deal. But so I'm getting everything together. I'm putting all the past financials together. I'm even, changing passwords online so he can get on. And I'm basically getting all the poop in a group.
Yeah.
And I get into the check register and I'm off by $30.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like,
eat me alive.
How now this, right? I got to fix this one.
Yeah.
So I go through it all. And then I realized that I made some sort of a math error. So now I'm just off by 15. Well, I'm like, okay, I can make this adjustment. It's in the right direction, meaning that, I'm low. There's more money in the checking account.
Yeah, you definitely want to be that way
adjustment.
between the two. Yeah.
Yeah. I get all the way through to the end, and now I'm off 30 again. And I'm like,
I had that one. I was with my mom. She asked me to double check her math on her checkbook, and I sat down. And the first time I did it, I came up with what she did, and it was off. Like the number with what we had didn't match what the bank says. Which, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this again, and then I come up with a different number, and I'm like, okay, well, where was that? Like, what was it that I did that led to a, so then I got to go through a third time, and then I finally figured it out that, what it was and got it. But I was like, once it's like I have two different answers, it's like, oh, now I have to solve this, like I can't.
That's my point.
I can't live with myself if I don't correct this now. I have to figure it out.
But the one thing I learned is use pencil.
Yeah, the other thing I learned.
On number 3, the third time through, I was like, use pencil.
Yeah. I always did that whenever I did checking. Pencil, I always use pencil. And then, like, once something was definitive, I would go in maybe with pen.
I went over
times.
with pen, yeah. But you just nailed exactly what it was like for me. I'm just like, I was on a mission.
Yeah.
I am going to find this. And then in the end, I was back to my within a few dollars. But the funny thing about it is I wanted it all to be exact.
Right.
Like that, and I was like, okay, all I got to do is subtract this, and all three will line up perfectly. And then in the end, I just was back to where I started. Oh, it's some funny stuff.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, how's your week?
Not too bad, really. I mean, it's been pretty low key. Although I'm sure you can hear me like sniffing plenty through here. And normally I try not to bring attention to that, but I was thinking about it today, and I forgot. I went to my doctor's office today because I had therapy, and I totally forgot while I was there. I've been out of like my
allergy stuff?
Yeah, my allergy stuff for a good almost 2 weeks now. And I have put in requests through their website for the prescriptions and got nothing. And I forgot while I was there because, I've said on here before how I like the people at my doctor's office, but sometimes you have to go light a fire, And I come from parents that basically were never afraid to go make a nuisance of themselves if it needed to happen. Like here. While I was there, I should have basically been like, hey, you're going to deal with this while I'm here. Like, we're getting this straightened out. Like, I'm not leaving until you get this straightened out kind of a thing. And I forgot, so I'll have to call now or just go up there because my doctor's office is only a few minutes from the house. But it's been making me kind of miserable, though, because I'm constantly sniffing, or I feel like I've been, you sneeze more because of not having the stuff, because things you're allergic to. So, yeah, that's kind of stunk. But other than that, I've been feeling all right. A little overwhelmed. And I think I mentioned that. I don't remember if it was on Salty Language or if it was on this last week, where I mentioned that I've been kind of doing something every day, like getting a little bit of eBay work done or doing this or doing that. And I think I kind of hit my fill yesterday, and I did nothing, like, at all. And I was even going to make a roast and veggies and stuff for dinner and was like, no, like, I'm not doing that.
I'm done.
Yeah. But I also knew, like, I had therapy today, so I was like, okay, well, usually I come out of therapy kind of refreshed, and I did, because I really like my therapist, this new therapist. It is really nice sitting down, and like I said before, I really just feel like I'm just sitting down with somebody and just having a conversation, which is cool, because it's comfortable, and, when you're comfortable, you're more forthcoming. So
yeah.
Not that I wasn't before, but this way I just don't feel as nervous or anything. So, that's all good.
But it was weird because, we've talked on here about deflection, of compliments and whatnot. And, my new therapist was telling me that my last therapist basically had nothing but, a glowing review for me, and I'm sitting there and, of course I immediately felt myself wanting to be like, yeah, and then it's like, no, like the one place you're absolutely not allowed to deflect is in therapy. You're not allowed to deflect in here because they're going to...
Where you're supposed to take your win.
Yeah. And it's like, because she's going to call you on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I even told her, I said, I feel myself wanting to do this, and she laughed, and
that's funny.
Because it's just so... Even though I've come a long way with it, it's still so natural. It's so easy to slip back into that,
Yeah.
But it also made me feel really good, that's how I'm seen, because that's how I want to be seen. I want people to want to like not go, oh, this guy, like. So
that's funny.
That's always a nice little reaffirmation, that you're, putting out the energy you want to put out there. That's good. So yeah,
I think that's why my lack of patience and my just getting frustrated too easy. That's why I think it's bothering me.
Yeah, that's why it bothers me when I do it too.
Drifting from the right. Yeah.
Yep, I hear you. Yeah, that's. But I got some homework to do to try to help me with various reframing and whatnot, and which shouldn't be a problem because I usually am pretty good about trying to do what's suggested to at least hey, I gave it the old college try, it didn't work, or I gave it the old college try, and hey, this is great, I'm going to keep doing this. So, we'll see. But yeah, that was nice today. But it was like while I was out, it's like I had something come in at Target, so it was like. And honestly, I woke up, I told you this, I woke up and my stomach was not wanting me to leave the house today. And I'm like, I got stuff I should do, like I got to go to therapy. Because it's like, it's an hour beforehand. I really don't want to call off. Even though I'm sure in that profession you probably are, people calling off is probably very common. But I still was like, I just don't want to. I want to go more than anything, so... It's a tough fight, because literally at that point my stomach's upset and then my anxiety kicks in. What if things get worse? What if and then you're fighting the what ifs and, so, but I went and everything was fine. And then I went and I was anxious about going into Target because, it's pre-Christmas.
Oh, Lord.
Luckily, what I got was already paid for, so all I had to do was go to the front counter, but I was getting a few other things, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to walk right up to the customer service and be like, can I pay for this here too? And the woman was absolutely super nice about it, and must be literally an angel on earth because I heard her talking with her coworker about who's working Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas. And she's like, I want to work the counter, meaning the customer service counter. And I'm like, oh, bless you. Like,
wow.
Ooh, that's not a job I would want. But, because I've been there before. When I worked at Best Buy on Christmas years and years ago, I was up at the customer service area on the day after Christmas, the biggest return day of the year. And, oh my goodness, people are just... not nice sometimes, especially after they've been waiting for an hour or whatever. So
yeah,
when I said, I hope things go well for her, but she said the reason for it is because she straight out told the woman that she was working with, she's like, I'm the best one back here. And she's like, I know I can get people through. And I was like, see, that I appreciate. Because when we used to get slammed at the video stores I would work at, I would be like, all right, I'm going to work register/Dropbox. You go run movies. You go do, it's like, who do I have? Who's best at what? Plug them into those pieces and go. That way none of us have to stop and think about this. We can just do what we're really good at once we get back into caught up or whatever, then we can maybe shift. So, you're not doing the same thing all night. But
yeah,
I was like, good on her for recognizing that, but also, oof, for volunteering for that.
Yeah,
that's a tough spot.
Very brave.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was, super easy in and out of there or whatever. And, once again, it's just one of those things, that anxiety is just, so many times anxiety is just that jerk that is just trying to make your life horrible.
That's such a great way of putting it. So perfect.
Because seriously, I'm going into Target. It's a store. Generally, I mean, barring, something weird happening as far, something extreme or something. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen there? I have to wait a little bit. I mean, It's like, okay, you've waited in lines before. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's no new challenge here.
No, there's not. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah. But, did that and then came home, made a little something to eat, and, it's really haven't gotten done what I wanted to get done today, but I'm still kind of riding yesterday, I think, a little bit.
That's fun.
And I'm going to surf it right through tomorrow, too, because I have a doctor's appointment, and I'm going to be out of town for most of the day, so probably going to surf right on to Thursday, and then I'll try to kick myself in the butt to get back after it, but like I said, pretty good overall. And the fact that I think my win for the week is literally today, like recognizing that my stomach, normally in the past, if my stomach feels like that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm going to stay home, because who wants to have, stomach issues anywhere else? When you have stomach issues, you want to be home,
Yeah.
So, the fact that I was like, no, I have to go do some things today. I had to ship some stuff out, and when my brain was kind of fighting that, I'm like, no, look, people may want this for Christmas. Like, make sure you get this out, so at least you give all the chances possible that it gets there in time for them. So, so yeah, my big win is, for the week, a little win, whatever you want to call it, was that, pushing through. Because that's not something I'm good at. So, yeah, I think that was about it for my week, though. It's been pretty slow week, but, on purpose, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel like I have things that I want to do, that I want to get done, but right now, if I don't get them done, it's not that big of a deal, because there are important things to do.
Right. And also,
like,
it's
I feel like
I want to push myself in the right places, also. It's like, I don't want to push myself to burn
exactly.
out. That's not a good place. So,
Yeah, and I think, like, I'll just say it now. I think, like, my what I want to do for the rest of this week is I want to get through and work on this sense of frustration when something doesn't go right.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to work on that right now and find out where that's coming from. Because it's things like that aren't out of the blue. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. Well, and like we said before, it's like that's not the energy you want to give off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know what it is because I don't want it to come out the wrong way at the wrong time.
And that's the problem with it, is it starts off with something like that, where, like you said, where, you kick the steering column, which, hey, whatever. The only thing you're hurting there is you, whether it's your foot or, your pocketbook.
My bank account. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you don't want it to come out at the wrong person or at work or,
exactly.
whatever it is. Yeah. Someone who doesn't deserve it or.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hear you. So, yeah. So, all right. I guess. Oh, I was looking for the topic right now.
Yeah, well, my mouse suddenly decided to not go up and down.
Oh, that's pretty.
I was like,
that's useful.
Yeah, I was like, where did you? And of course, so I'm messing with the thing, and then everything's just going bling, 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 bling. I'm like, no.
Like in the old days when you would like your mouse would kind of freeze and you start clicking all over the place, and then
then
it
catches up.
Yeah, and it's like, oh
And you're
geez,
just
what's going
watching all these things happen. You're like, oh Lord,
Yeah.
okay, that's my luck right there.
on? Yeah, like why did I push all those buttons?
Buttons, yeah, exactly. Why? Because, well, when something doesn't work, you push a lot of buttons or kick it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college, we're in the computer lab, for one of the design classes, and one of the guys in the class got really mad and slammed the mouse down on the table. And, those aren't yours.
No, yeah.
And, dude, that mouse just exploded because he slammed it down hard, And I'm like, ooh, he just looks at the instructor and was like, I know. He's like, I'll go buy another one. And she goes, that's fine, but I think we still need to go have a talk.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it's true. Even if hey, whatever, I'll replace it. Still not okay to blow up and do that, especially not with, that close to other people, Luckily, there wasn't a piece of mouse shrapnel that hit someone else or something.
Well, it's just disturbing to the others around you.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
It's very shocking, if nothing else,
Yeah.
It's like,
all of a sudden, somebody loses their mind,
And I think it was more of like with her, I think it was more of a, like, just a, are you okay? Kind of talk they were going to have. Because, he's an adult. We all know we shouldn't do that stuff for the most part. So,
Yep.
But, yeah.
So our topic for tonight is about single shaming and defying it. And it's from Psychology Today in their Nurturing Self-Compassion kind of section. And this is an article written by Allison Abrams, who is a licensed social worker.
Okay.
And has some other initials, but I don't know what they stand for.
Right.
I do know what the social worker one is. And this starts with, in a culture that places disproportionate value on one's relationship status, it is no wonder so many singles struggle with self-worth. The myth of happily ever after, along with the dictum that every woman should be married by a certain age, has been embedded within our collective narrative for ages. That you are a +1 if coupled, but a -1 if not, does not quite add up.
Wow.
Which I think is a great opener.
It is.
That's literally how it is.
Well, and you feel that way, whether or not it's meant to be that way, you really do. Because if you have friends that are all coupled up and you don't get invited to something, you immediately feel, oh, is that because of, and maybe not, maybe they just think you're terrible,
Yeah, well,
so no, again, it's, but your brain does go there, like, wow, I wonder if that's because I'm not in a relationship or something.
Yeah, and it is true where it's like, you feel like, it's not like you're at neutral.
Right.
You're at negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the psychological effects of single shaming. As a therapist, one of the things I find most perplexing is how so many smart, successful, and by the way, this whole article is focused on women. It'll talk a little bit about that, but it applies to men as well.
Yeah.
As a therapist, one of the things I find most perplexing is how so many smart, successful, and confident women have cemented within them the belief that if they have not found the one, then there must be something wrong with them. This is nothing but a distorted belief. Distorted? Where's that word from?
Oddly enough, today in I forgot about that. Like today in therapy, she was going to give me a couple like sheets, and one of them was going to be the distorted thinking. I'm like, I'm very familiar with that one.
Got that one.
Right.
But this is nothing but a distorted belief that reflects an equally distorted yet persistent cultural norm. Believing that one's life is somehow incomplete without a partner is as absurd as it is dangerous. Shame, in all its forms, invades our psyches, undermines our accomplishments, and erodes our self-worth. And where one's self-worth is compromised is where the potential seeds of depression are planted. And I like that. Such a great reminder that when we start questioning our self-worth, when we're around either people, places, or things that make us feel less worthy, that we are planting little seeds of depression.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, because like you were saying before, like that mentioned, if you feel you're a negative or a -1, what is -1 is blank to 0.
Yeah.
Less than. And
Yeah.
anytime
Less
you
than.
feel less than, depression, is like, ooh, So-
Like, ooh, yes, rubbing
Yeah.
its hands together.
Yeah, it's basically like, the emperor, good, feed the, like,
Yeah. Feed your self-worth.
yeah.
So single women are members of one of the most stigmatized groups we refuse to acknowledge. Single men face stigma as well, but not nearly to the same extent as women. Just consider the connotative contrast between spinster and bachelor or playboy. And same thing goes with slut or stud.
True.
The cultural lie tells us that a woman has not reached the true pinnacle of success nor become a fully realized person until she walks down the aisle or has a ring on her finger. But what if she doesn't want to say yes to the dress? And if she wants to put a ring on it, why can't she buy the ring herself? What if she wants to go to Jared? Like that.
I'll hold the door.
Yeah.
By all means, please.
Today, more and more millennials are delaying marriage and instead choosing to focus on shaping careers, nurturing friendships, and honing creative talents. It goes into some census figures that support this. And then in her empowering I'm not going to bore everyone with census numbers. Her empowering 2016 book, All the Single Ladies, Unmarried Women and the Rise of an Independent Nation, Rebecca Traister explores the origins of negative stereotypes and stigma against single women. Quote, when people call single women selfish for the act of tending to themselves, it's important to remember that the very acknowledgement that women have selves that exist independently of others, and especially independent of husbands and children, is revolutionary. A true age of female selfishness in which women recognize and prioritize their own drives to the same degree to which they have always been trained to tend to the needs of all others might, in fact, be an enlightened corrective to centuries of self-sacrifice.
Interesting.
An enlightened corrective to centuries of self-sacrifice. I think that's really true. I think it's also a great retort about, well, you're just being selfish. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, is that a bad thing?
Yeah, we've talked plenty of times on here. If you happen to be a new listener, we very much on here have talked about how selfish is not always a bad word. And
because we're talking about selfish from the standpoint of self-love, self-respect.
Yeah. And
self-worth.
Yeah, I'm very much of that camp that I've had people in the past, when I've been in relationships, when are you going to get married or whatever, and I'm usually like, why is that your end game? Like, why is that so important? Like, it isn't to everybody, and that's okay. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't become, I don't know. I'm not going to let someone make me feel less than because I'm not married or something. I don't care. Like, that's not my goal, and if that's not my goal at the time, maybe it is someday, whatever, but it shouldn't matter. I don't, and this is like this, when it talks about the stigma placed on women for it, it really is heavier on women. It's just different for guys.
It is.
It's very different.
Well, that's like,
because guys get a lot of pressure about, well, why haven't you gotten married to her yet? Like, if you're with somebody for any length of time, well, why haven't you gotten married to her yet?
But the greater insult to me is like, why hasn't he put a ring on your finger?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I was in no way saying
why are you with him?
Yeah.
Like, it still comes around like it's somehow her fault.
Yes, exactly. And it's not. It's, this will always puzzle me, why people can't just let this go. But I'm kind of glad when I see the numbers that people are kind of putting things off and not emphasizing it as much. And I'm like, good. Because realistically, I've never been a pro-marriage person anyway. And it's funny because my parents were married until my dad died. Like, it wasn't I don't come from a broken home or anything like that. But I just look at it as pointless in so many ways. And it's fine if you don't as a person, or, whoever's listening. If you don't, that's fine. This is me. And I just never put any emphasis on it. It wasn't, I don't know. It's like, I'll live if I'm not married. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just never. Yeah.
Well, the next paragraph kind of touches on that. Singleism. Bella DePaulo, author of Singled Out, How Singles Are Stereotyped, Stigmatized, and Ignored and Still Live Happily Ever After. That's the name of the book, by the way.
A long name for a book.
Yes, long.
Long name.
Has been researching and writing about single stigma for decades. She even coined a term for it, singleism. She writes about the obvious and not so obvious ways that single people are stereotyped and discriminated against, including the various economic and social disadvantages that they face.
Yep.
On her Psychology Today blog, DePaulo offers up some delicious zingers as well as serious answers to the ridiculous questions singles are asked. For example, in response to, "Why aren't you married?" you can respond with the equally ridiculous, "Why aren't you a Christmas tree?" I love that. Because there's just on so many levels, it's like, why aren't you married? Well, A, is it really any of your business?
Right, yeah.
But that's why it's like, I think it's just great to have just a silly answer to it, because it really is a silly question.
Yeah. Well, because it really is, like, what you said. It's like, why do you feel that's any of your business?
Business. Why is it important to you?
Yeah, why is it important to you that
I
get married?
My relation.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
So, unmarried does not equal unworthy.
Nope.
Being in a romantic relationship should not be an obligation, regardless of what society or your mother tells you. There are many paths towards happily ever after. Marriage is but one. DePaulo writes, quote, "If you are not already a happy person, don't count on marriage to transform you into one. If you are already happy, don't expect marriage to make you even happier. Finally, if you are single and happy, do not fret that you will descend into despair if you dare to stay single. That's not likely either," unquote. And I really love that advice.
Yeah, I do too, because there is a lot of people that get into bad relationships, that get into bad marriages because of that. Just that constant, like, I'll be a failure, or I'll be...
And if you're single and happy...
Okay. Yeah, like, great.
Yeah.
You're happy. Awesome. That's all I wish for anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Whatever. And that this, like, oh, well, you know, I'm single, I'm happy. Well, maybe someday I won't be, or, you know, by this certain time, but why? You can stay single and happy.
Yeah.
You know, there's no reason it can't be that way. Just as much as there's no reason why you can't find a relationship that works for you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
It doesn't have to fit society's norms.
It's amazing, isn't it, that people can not see, like, a lot of people can't seem to fathom being single and happy, but they can see somebody being coupled up and miserable. Like, they can see that, like, they, you know, at times or whatever, but, like, it's like, well, I don't understand how you can be happy when you're not with someone.
What?
You know?
How, you know, that's another, you just nailed on one, and it's such a huge trope for television shows and movies and things like that. You know, somebody complaining about marriage or the relationship or whatever it is, and it's like, well, welcome to marriage, or, you know, like, my wife, da-da-da, well, that's how, you know, da-da-da-da-da.
Exactly.
It's like, it's this thing about that you're supposed to be miserable when you're in a relationship.
Which is terrible. Why would you, you know, like, why would you ever want that for yourself or anyone else? You know?
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, this says a new narrative. We need a new cultural narrative in which one's worth is decoupled from one's relationship status. When biased policies that alienate singles become obsolete, when marriage is no longer fetishized and touted as the be-all and end-all, and when women can stop equating their worth with their marital status, is when we will have truly progressed. Yeah. What if, rather than obsessing on the single goal of partnering, we set a new goal, that of cultivating self-compassion and self-acceptance? What if we made a commitment to ourselves to live our best lives in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, and most importantly, with the partner or without?
Yeah, and you know the funny part about that is if you're good with yourself and all that other kind of thing, you'll probably find yourself in some better relationships. Not always, but you know,
it's more likely to happen.
Yeah.
You know, there's
'cause you understand that you don't need that person as far as like for happiness, so you don't tolerate things that maybe you would look past because it's like, well, it's better than being alone. No, it isn't. I'd rather be alone and happy than coupled and miserable.
Yep.
Any day of the week.
Sharon and I had a mutual friend that was just, she wanted in a relationship so bad, and I swear it's not always the case, but most of the time when I see someone that I know, it doesn't matter whether it's male or female that is like that, it's like a billboard on their forehead.
It is. Yep.
And it's not pretty usually.
No, because
it's
usually
it's like wow.
Yeah, because a lot of times you'll see people who, they're moths to the flame, basically. They'll see somebody like that, and they just start rubbing their hands together,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's
like it just doesn't work out well, and then to see that same exact person then shift and just become, I'm going to work on me. I'm going to focus on what I can do for myself, what I'm doing with myself right now. Where are my feet? Okay. Where am I standing? What am I doing? Focus on that. Because there's one thing that's inevitable with wanting or, and to the worst case, being desperate for a relationship, is it puts you into future casting.
Yeah.
So far. And so much of your ups and downs, your successes, your failures, all that stuff becomes just locked into this one desire.
Yeah.
And it's usually it's a distorted desire.
Yeah.
There's so much distorted thinking that goes with it. And then when I see that same person decide to turn it around and go, you know what, I'm going to work on me. And then all of a sudden they end up they meet this person or they, whatever it is, it's like, God, it's like it works every time almost, it seems like it.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. It's like you see people and they're the ones that'll be like, why do I keep ending up with this kind of person? And it doesn't matter, male or female. They'll, why do I keep ended up with someone who cheats on me or this is whatever. And you're just like, it's not that you're like, oh, it's you, like I'm not at all saying that, but when you, like I said, what you start doing is, when you work on yourself and you see what you need and what you want, you go, that person's not what I need in my life or what I want. And that's the big thing, is instead of looking at it as though you need someone else, you start seeing what you don't need in your life. And that clarity can make all the difference in some happiness there. And, because until you kind of hit that point, a lot of times we cycle. We end up dating essentially the same person over and over and over because that's what our brain tells us we want. Until you really do analyze a little bit and then go, oh, you know what? No, and I don't deserve this or I don't deserve that or you start seeing the toxic relationships. And again, I'm not meaning anything even necessarily like, I don't mean anything like to the level of like abuse per se. It's just, you can just, somebody who's just not out for your best interests. They're not cheering for you, whatever it is. And that's the thing is it, you should be looking for somebody that, improves your life as far as like your life is good. They just can make it better.
Yep. You just nailed the one thing I wanted to say is I don't like this idea. Find someone that completes you. No. Be complete.
Yeah.
Find someone that helps you be complete.
Right.
Find someone that you can be complete with.
Be a delicious ice cream or like a hot fudge sundae, right? It's better with whipped cream and a cherry on top, but it's still really good without it. And that's, I was always raised to be that way, which was that be self-sufficient, be self-reliant, and not push people away, but in the sense that you can go, hey, I'm not with anybody else and I'm good. Like, and I see that. And for a long time, and thank goodness this seems to be shifting. A lot of it, I saw it way more in females, you know, because they weren't raised that way, because they were still being raised by that old, you know, oh, you have to get married and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you don't, you know, like, don't pigeonhole your kids that way, you know, teach them to be strong people, to have self-worth and respect and love, and these things fall into place. It's amazing how many people this stuff just kind of falls into place for. So it just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I just, that's the one thing. If you don't teach your kid anything else, teach them to stand on their own 2 feet. You know, teach them that they don't have to have someone else.
Well, I want people to be able to not get to a point where it's either my dream or my family.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I can have both.
Yeah.
I can have my dream and I can have a family. And yes, if there's a point that I get to where I decide, you know what, family's more important to me right now than blah, 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 whatever thing it is, then you make that choice. But you're making the choice not out of any sort of obligation, or, you know, where it's a devil's bargain. You know, it's like where you're honestly making a choice for yourself because it's something that you want,
right?
Because you have pursued your dreams, you have pursued the things in life that you wanted, and you go, I'm good right now, I can go do this instead.
Yeah.
I like those decisions. You know, that's the kind of I had to have a tough talk it's one thing that happened on Saturday. You know, I finally got to talk to Hart about not playing in one of the bands, and it was really hard. You know, it's like doing music with people is an emotional thing, and it's a very powerful relationship. I've talked about it on here a lot, and it wasn't an easy conversation. But I'll tell you what, the thing that made it better for me, and where I had less anxiety about the conversation, was because I was making a choice.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with, I wasn't being forced. There was no, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I wasn't being coerced. You know, I was like, oh, if you do this, you know, unless you stop doing this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of a thing.
Right.
It was just a pure choice. It was something like, you know, I want to do this because it fulfills my needs right now. It gives me what I want. And it's nothing, you know, I know this is hard, but there's nothing wrong with what's over here.
Yeah.
But this is just something that I choose to do right now.
Well, like I was saying a little bit ago, right? Like, because you've done these things, you looked at that and said, this is not what I need in my life right now. Like, or what I want in my life right now. This other fulfills the needs, blah, blah, you know. So you're in a position to where you can just objectively make your decision rather than feel, oh, well, I have to be in a band or I have to be in 2 bands, you know, like, or I'm a failure or not doing what I, you know, kind of a thing. So the fact that you get some clarity there and you are able to go, this does or doesn't meet what I'm looking for. You know, I think that's where you want to be.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, I'm glad to decided to mention that, because if I look at my past, this is the one thing I'd never be able to do.
Yeah.
You know, tell someone no.
Yeah.
And you know, I was always way too much of a yes person. I was going to try it all. And the last thing I wanted to do was disappoint somebody.
Yeah.
That freaked me out. And then to sit down and have a conversation about it.
Oh man, nightmare.
And I was looking forward to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even the parts that weren't easy, I was looking forward to, because I was ready.
Yeah.
I knew where I stood, and I'd already processed through it, but here's the interesting thing. The old me would have like processed through everything and then wanted to control the pace of the conversation, how it was going to go. Right? Because I'd already worked it all out in my head. I'm going to say this, they're going to accept it. No, I didn't do that. I allowed the conversation to go where it needed to go.
Yeah.
I didn't put any time limits on it, and I didn't put any, you know, whatever we needed to talk about. And it felt that's, you know, definitely fun for me this last week, was to sit down and have one of those conversations.
Yeah. And you're right. Like that's the kind of conversation a lot of us would easily avoid, run away from. You know, like we live in an age of texting, you know, and nothing has been made those kind of situations easier for people than texting, you know, or email.
Well, that was
even,
it. It was like, I had to, you know, what sucked was you know, they were looking at booking gigs, and it was literally right when Eric killed himself, and I had to text it.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that he had also had a couple other people text him something or email him some things.
Oh, geez.
And it really just hit. It was just bad luck.
Yeah.
You know, it was frustrating because it's like, why can't people have a conversation? And I even said, I can't right now.
Yeah.
I'm in my own emotional place where I can't have a conversation about it, but you need to know this.
Right.
And I said, I do want to talk about it. So I really appreciated that he, it took him a couple of weeks before he called me back, which was fine, or a week or whatever it was. I called, I said, hey, I really want to talk. Whenever you're ready, call me. He called me, boom. We got, came over to my house. Awesome. It was so good.
Yeah.
But, bringing this back to the whole relationship thing, I think that's the best place to be with a relationship. Choosing whether you want to be in one or not is that you're in this place of, and I don't want to call it that you're unfeeling, but this idea of being in a place of neutrality is a good thing, because a place of neutrality means that you see both sides of the situation. You're excited, you're feeling all the good feelings, but you also you're not out of balance, let's say.
Yeah.
And I talk about this. Sobriety is kind of like that for me too, when it comes to being around like alcohol. I'm in a place of neutrality. I don't want it. I also don't feel the need to push it away.
Yeah.
I'm not freaked out about it, and I'm not craving it. I'm just completely neutral to it.
Yeah.
And to be able to approach a relationship like that, I know it's not easy because our emotions are going crazy, and we're excited and all this stuff. But to be able to look at it from that place of neutrality is a huge gift.
Yeah.
It's a huge gift.
Well, yeah, it's anytime if you can remove emotion from a decision, that you can kind of find clarity a little easier sometimes.
Yeah, because you know it feels good. And the only way you can know that is to know yourself.
Yeah.
And to know hey, this person is my little puzzle piece here.
Right.
I'm a complete puzzle piece. They're a complete puzzle piece. And we just happen to have a couple of sides that match up real nicely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's literally like a puzzle that on one end doesn't necessarily have a firm line, and you could just snap another puzzle right there.
Yeah, I like looking at it because there's relationships that I have in all sorts of ways. Friendships, romantic relationships, working relationships. They all are symbiotic in some way, shape, or form. We all work well for and with each other.
Sure.
That's what makes teams work. That's what makes couples work. It's how we work together. And I love those relationships, but they're the reason that they work well is because in every case that there isn't a dependence.
Yeah.
There's independence in both sides and coming together and working together. And I think that's really important.
I do also want to say that, obviously neither of us, is against like a relationship where you do lean on the other person from time to time. That is part of the business.
That's natural.
So it's not that we're saying you absolutely don't depend on other people or any of that stuff, but it's just a matter of, recognizing that you'll be okay. Like I hate when I hear somebody get out of a relationship and they just go into this, thing about, being alone and all this. And it's like, well, this is the time where instead of leaning on a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, this is where you lean on your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where they help you through those moments.
Yeah.
And if not them, a therapist or a group or whatever, like we talk about on here, you find the piece that you need at that moment to help you through what you need to do. The other thing I wanted to say is that to just be careful, because like you were talking about that being in that middle ground, you do have to be careful that you don't slide to the other side of this to where basically you're using, well, I just want to be single or I just want to whatever. as just a way of putting a wall up, you know, so you can't get hurt again. You know, don't try not to slide into being just cold and indifferent. You know, that's because I've seen plenty of people do that too, and I love being single and all this, but it's like you can just their actions don't line up with the words, you know, like kind of thing. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you're doing that. Again, there's nothing wrong with working on you, shutting it down. I've seen people where they're like, I'm not dating anyone this year. I'm going to go get into therapy again, and I'm going to this and that. Great. You know, go work on you, do what you got to do. But also don't put walls up to where you're blocking somebody out, you know, or potentially blocking someone out. Because again, when you're doing a lot of these things, you know, it's so Hallmark moment-y, you know, Hallmark movie-y, but it's like, you know, you're taking what you feel is a step back to do something, and all of a sudden, you know, that small town guy that's the father of two and has, you know, beautiful dogs and, you know, puppy dog eyes stumbles into your life, and you're just like, nope, you know, like, you know, you don't necessarily want to be that person either, to where you shut down shots at, you know, maybe finding someone else.
My own experience is that I treated people poorly when I was in that place. You know, somebody was actually honestly interested in being in a relationship with me, and I've talked about this before, where shock honesty.
Yeah.
And like I felt in my heart like I was just, I'm being honest. I'm explaining my limitations.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay that we're together, but I'm not capable of this or that, or blah, you know, whatever it was. And it was like this ridiculous, stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
It's something that it just makes me cringe. and the thing that makes me cringe is that I really thought like I was being honest. And it's like, no, I wasn't being honest. I was being dishonest with myself, and I was being dishonest with somebody else. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
And if that is not a balanced relationship, that was one where, you know, the thing that sucks is that the person that cares the least ends up having the most control in a relationship, and it just is a bummer.
Yeah, it's true.
And looking back at the times that I was like that, I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it really stinks. And I think that was a good reminder that, you know, that swinging in that other direction, that's also not good, because it's now you're not going to hurt yourself with this one, but you're going to hurt somebody else. And I hurt people.
Right. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because, you know, like you had mentioned balance, and it was like, you know, we've talked on one end in the middle, but I feel like we should go the other way too. Make sure it's like, you know, be careful you don't slide into that area, because, you know, again, going back to the, you know, potentially putting out energy you don't mean to or want to put out there, and that's kind of what can be done at that. I mean, you know, from the time I was on various dating sites and stuff, it's like you see it all over the place there. You know, clearly these people have been hurt, and you know, and a lot of them start, you know, verbally putting a bunch of walls out there to where as another person you're reading this going, you know, like kind of a thing. And maybe they're a great person, but you'll never know because you feel like they're standoffish, essentially. So, you know, yeah. Who knows? Maybe that's for the best, too. I don't know. But I don't think most of us want to be in that camp, you know?
Yep.
So
I still think the ending line's great. You know, cultivate self-compassion, cultivate self-acceptance, make a commitment to ourselves to live our best lives.
Yep, and that's whether you're single or in a relationship.
Exactly, with a partner or without. Yeah. I like that. That's a good thing.
And again, if the person you're with is not cheering you on in those endeavors, you know, red flag. Like, you know, take a good look, because you gotta make sure that, you know, like I said, if you're a teammate, you know, like watching sports, you know, when somebody hits a basket or hits a home run, the rest of the team cheers for them. If they don't, then a lot of times they're not part of the team the next year, because the coaches will get rid of them, you know, so.
Way to go. You just lost our audience, Brian.
Dang it.
Sports references, please.
Finally, it's taking me long enough. No. But yeah. Anyway,
good topic.
Yeah. One last thing is this whole conversation could almost be had about having kids also, like so easily.
Interesting.
Because a lot of people are, well, don't you want kids? They enrich your life and this, and there's plenty of people like me that are out there that are just like, yeah, not necessarily. Or you said you and Sharon, like, no, it's not for us. So, and maybe we are missing out on something, but we seem okay not knowing, so whatever. But anyway. All right. Well, I guess I should do the stuffs here. Where is it? If you want to continue the conversation with us, you can, visit our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can email us at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. The show Twitter can be found at thecrazylifepod. Jen can be found on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. Or at, I keep forgetting, I got to put the other one in here. Is it Whiskey Dits, I believe it is?
Yeah, it is,
so
yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how she spelled it. I think it's exactly how it should be.
So,
but
yeah.
You can also find Jen on her other podcast, Shake the Sheets, which can be found at shakethesheets.com. And how about you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. You can find me on Facebook, Henno Heiter, and Facebook Messenger, and the other Instagrams and things like that. And check out, we just did a new Song Shaming Guilty Pleasures Moving the Needle podcast that we released this week. So go check out the Moving the Needle podcast. And we had our special guest from Kristen Meyer from How Was Your Week, Honey? She's a Canadian, don't you know? And she was awesome, and we had a really great time. And it takes me a long time to edit these podcasts, and it was the most fun I've had editing a podcast, because we just really had a great time. And so I hope you can come check it out.
Cool.
We really go at it with the music.
And those ones end up generally being my favorite ones anyway. So
yeah. We hit an hour and a half on this one, so it was fun.
And which is a little long for you guys. Usually you're about an hour, so.
Yeah,
right?
But you got two more songs,
Oh yeah, I'm not thinking about having the extra person. She didn't replace someone. She was an additional person.
Yeah, she was in addition, and then we went on some tangents, and I left them in because they were good.
Awesome. Yeah, I dig that. So I've got it downloaded. I'll be listening probably tonight to it. So. Because again, I'm usually like when I saw when I was posting Salty Language last night, then I saw in some of the groups where I'm to promo the show, I saw the post for it, and I was like, oh, cool, because I hadn't opened my podcast yet yesterday, so I was like, sweet. So yeah, there's that. So definitely go check that out, and you can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other show, Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work.
Yeah, neither is our latest Moving the Needle.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that from the promo graphic.
Yeah, I should probably say that next time.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it's a good thing we mentioned that, though. Yeah, so...
yeah, there was some inappropriate conversations.
Yeah. Earbuds in, or if you're, sensitive to, salty language.
Yeah. Go listen to Brian.
Yeah. All right. What else am I forgetting here? Oh, we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com, and the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. So go check out other shows on there. And what have you. As always, if you need help, please reach out. Whether it's therapy, group, text line, the crisis lines that are out there. Just please reach out for help. If you're having a mental health crisis, please try not to be alone. Please reach out to, a friend or somebody and see if someone can come be with you so you're not by yourself during that time. Or stay on, talk to somebody on one of these crisis lines or whatever. Just in general, reach out to people maybe you haven't talked to in a while, and just see how they're doing and, make sure everything's going okay. you know, because a lot of times, I mean, you know, speaking of being single, this is a time where a lot of people really feel lonely.
Yeah.
So, you know,
True.
this time of year and stuff. So, you know, please reach out and just make sure everybody's, you know, kind of doing okay, or that they know that, you know, you're there for them if you need them. And lastly, you know, let's just try to be kind to one another when we can. And, you know, I understand sometimes you got to kick a steering column, but, you know, when we can be nice, when we can be nice to others, you know, do so. I intentionally walked slow in front of a car in a parking lot today because there was an older lady behind me that I don't think they really wanted to wait for. So I kind of made them wait. So I don't know if that counts as being nice or not. I feel like I was towing the line there, you know, like tiptoeing across it. But, you know, just try to be nice whenever you can, though, because, yeah, just never know when it might brighten someone's day or whatever. And it just feels so much better than being a jerk to somebody. It really does. So, yeah, do that. And again, you know, like Heno and I have both done this week, you know, make sure you're nice to yourself. You know, he took the day off of work because his body was like, hey, maybe let's not go in. And I was like, hey, my body's like, hey, I'm kind of hitting burnout. So I was like, let's not do anything today. So, and always remember, self-care is doing something. So if you're the type like me that beats yourself up for not doing anything, always remember that self-care counts as doing something. So, yeah. So, all right. I guess with that, Heno's going to hit you with some random words of wisdom before we get out of here.
Oh, yeah. Well, what are we? Be your omelet and don't worry about yesterday's pizza. Still a winner.
I love it.